Hello, everybody.
Hello! It's that time! It's finally here. The bittersweet moment known as the finale. It's today. The finale of StarKid Spotlight, where we all decide once and for all our rankings for these magnificent musicals by StarKid Productions.
Normally, I wait to start talking, but just to throw this out there, Wash and I watched all these musicals in like not even 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But for CinemaSign, no, that had to take 2 months. That was so hard.
I'm sorry. That's why I'm glad I already rewatched most of these. Because it probably would have taken longer. But I'm glad you two sped through it and were able to watch it just fine. And I'm so happy you guys did. And it was a pleasure to talk about it with you. And now we all get to rank them justifiably. And I'm super excited for that because we're going to rank from the first musical back at Hogwarts all the way to the one on the line for Black Friday. We're going to decide from the best to the worst. But before we do that, I wanted to show my good friends KirbyFan and Wash the StarKid
haven't introduced ourselves.
Oh, yeah, you know what? Before we do that, cut that all out. I'm Random Bystander here.
I'm the Wash.
And I'm the one who went to grab my microphone and throw it into the audience.
Yeah,
I knew we were going to mention that.
We were already talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Okay.
But if you're wondering, all right, now that I'll mention it. Before we get to the rankings, though, I wanted to show KirbyFan and Wash something that I discovered while in the middle of StarKid Spotlight that I watched. And I was like, you know what? This looks a lot of fun. Why can't we just watch it, discuss it just for a bit of 15 minutes? And that is the documentary of the 10-year special of StarKid Homecoming.
StarKid Tenumentary.
Yes. Basically,
behind the scenes of StarKid Homecoming.
Yes, which is basically a little behind-the-scenes video they made for StarKid Homecoming, which was an event that took place on their 10-year anniversary in 2019, where they gathered as much members of StarKid as they could, if not all, and they had them all perform in a bunch of shows featuring all their songs together, and it was just all the StarKids in one place performing for a live audience. And I thought that was just a cool idea. And I thought we could talk about it for about 15 minutes.
I want to point out this part before we get further into it, but like late into the documentary, you find out that not only did they try to get every single cast member of StarKid, they even tried to get in all of the crew members.
Yes.
Like they have one who only worked on Very Potter musical. And they called her and said, "Hey, do you still want to show up?" And it's like, "Oh, that's so nice of them that they remember that I was a part of this."
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
It's very
Shout out
nice.
to the crew members.
Yeah, I respect that a lot.
Yeah, because they didn't just have the actors; they had all the crew. They had AJ Holmes and
Clark
as an like orchestra, and not just like music like they usually do. It was their first time doing a 13-piece orchestra.
And not an 8-person one.
Yeah, it was crazy. Because, like, it's hearing some of those songs, a bunch of them, in an orchestra, which is like, wow, that's awesome. And it made me want to hear more, but we're not talking about the Homecoming itself, we're talking about the documentary. And they brought in, like, costume designers, lighting designers, just everyone behind the scenes, and it was just really cool. And just to see all the StarKids and how they've changed so much, especially the earlier ones.
I definitely noticed there was a much bigger emphasis on the people from the old days.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not necessarily saying like, that sucks, but just that, I was specifically thinking like, we're seeing all these people. I'm thinking, oh, I can't wait for, Jeff Blim, for Rachel, for Corey. And they were there. They were there.
Yeah.
Rachel showed up once and said hello, and that was all we got of her.
Yeah. Corey Doris had a few interviews, and Jeff Blim, they mostly showed him more singing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does stink just that they did focus more on the old than the new. But one,
it doesn't stink because it's nice to get to see them again. It's just it felt. I don't want to say like nostalgia pandering because that's too harsh. But like it's nostalgia pandering, but less harsh. That's kind of that's what I'm trying to get to.
It's a crowd pleaser. Yeah, like you're gonna bring back Bonnie, who played Hermione. Like we haven't seen her since
sequel.
Yeah,
we didn't even see her in senior year.
She wasn't there for senior year, and she also wasn't there when they did a tour sometime before this, where they tried to bring everybody back, and they performed the scene from the part of the musical on the train, but Bonnie was replaced by Meredith because I guess they couldn't get her to come for this one, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
So like I think like for this it's like we finally have you here, and like we want to hear you talk about StarKid.
And also there were 40 people. It was hard to give people like accurate amount of screen time. Like it was probably crazy just to get even people interviewed. Because they were doing it in the middle of like 10 to 12 hour rehearsal days and performances.
I 100% expect that there's like 4 hours at least of interview footage that's on the cutting room floor.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
And they like this is stuff that they recorded in 2019, and I mean, first off, that it was released last September of 2020.
Yeah.
But you should tell like with the intro that this was edited well after COVID.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just from the opening alone, with like remember Brian going, "Remember people hugging each other? That's extreme these days."
Yeah,
it was good to hear Brian again.
Brian Holden is such a mood.
He really
like
is.
When that fan made that really great pop-up book, and he's like, "Where's Superman? This thing sucks. Where's Junior? This thing's terrible. You could have fit Lupin in there.
You could have fit Lupin in there.
On the
Where's Flopsy? Where?" Oh wait, I wasn't in this one. It's good.
Oh, Brian is. I miss Brian so much. I do.
Some of them, it was like Firebringer 2 plays ago, and it's like, it's been an eternity since I last laid eyes on you.
Yeah. Jim. Yeah. Everyone was happy to see Jim, but
yeah, like everyone was just so like. Everyone was saying like, who did you miss most? And everyone kept saying like Jim Pavolo. Like, I mean, he's hard to miss.
Yeah.
Really,
he's got long hair now. Well, he did.
He had long. Yeah, okay, that's fair. It's grown out since.
You got to understand, it's all Jafar's fault.
But yeah, this is it's a very fun documentary. I have some issues with it on the editing side. Like, there's one part there's one scene that kind of rubbed me. It's like if you had just cut it down a tiny bit, it would have been fine. But there was one point where, and like the first couple times it was funny when they kept cutting to Nick Lang, where they're talking about dancing, and they kept cutting to Nick Lang.
I don't have time for that.
No, I don't have time for that. But then then one of those they like cut back to that, but then they kept playing it in slow motion and then slower motion. And it's like, is this like a 2007 YouTube video? Stop.
It started in 2009. They can make it work.
Harry Potter musical.
If we're going to talk about that, let's also talk about the best part of the whole documentary, which was
I was when I finished. Or actually, I was halfway through, and I said I can't wait for KirbyFan to get to the Joe Walker moment.
Yeah,
because
there's so many Joe Walker moments though. Like the microphone. The microphone is just the funniest one. But like, he sprains his ankle, he goes to get it checked, and he goes, "Okay."
Can I just say it's so great to see Joe again?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Like, that's half the reason why I wanted to do this documentary.
What a loss to the acting world.
I know.
Oh my god!
I know.
He is so good.
He
got excited about me and my dick.
Like, it was so like calm, like Joey Richter just calmly singing out, "My."
And then you don't even hear him sing because he just rushes.
Falls into the. He goes. He goes. I think I caught that microphone pretty quick.
He caught it like on the ground.
It literally fell in. It would have fallen into the pit if they haven't had it covered. My favorite thing though was they caught Lauren's reaction to it.
Yeah. It's classic Joe because he's crazy.
Oh my god. It's just that's one of the main reasons I wanted to show you the documentary, just because.
So, it's like I love that and the sprained ankle thing, but I think the part that like I'm gonna remember the most, it's like 5 minutes in. It's like probably a super small thing to anybody who hasn't organized something. But the guy on camera asked Nick Lang if he was stressed, and he was just kind of like, it's like a reasonable amount. You know, there's a lot of things that I want to make sure that can go right, but it's out of my hands. I'm gonna have to just hope that, you know, everybody that I've been working with for so long does what they need to do. I believe in them. And it's very nice. But then he's like, what I'm worried about and getting stressed over, are we going to get the signs that we need? Are people going to know when to park or where to park? Is the catering going to be correct? And it's just like, oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yup.
There's all the tiny bullshit.
Yeah, that's just it's totally out of your hands and you don't know like who's handling it.
Exactly.
It's not like with the production. You like, okay, you know, people that either I've worked with before or I'm still working with, like I can trust them. I know them.
Exactly. You don't know what's going on with the catering.
Yeah, no idea.
But the fact that like he cares and just like is worrying about that stuff it's nice because again they're all friends. I always loved whenever they would like get around in a circle and do those like power meetings of. First they do a circle in the beginning where they're just like, all right, everybody, here's what we're gonna do. And I think of an opening night they did a circle that was just like one of those like let's get out there and get the show going circle. Which
but that was not the one with the brand chant.
No. But we'll get to brand chant. I just want to mention is like seeing those circles like brought me back to like when I did shows and we would always do like a little circle huddle.
That same circle, yeah.
Yeah. Then we'll just like say things like, "Oh, we're all gonna do good job. Does anyone have anything to say?" And it just brought me back to like the days of theater, and I liked it. But yes, none was as good as the brand chat. Kirby, what did you think about seeing Brand Cox again?
It was nice. We'll probably get a little more into this when we get to Starship, but it was nice seeing everybody. You know, old, new. I've been in a lot of plays. Have been in like half. It was just nice.
I've been in one.
Been in one play.
Not even like the full thing. I was like, was Vanessa there? The Me and My Dick Vanessa, was she there? Like I don't even know.
Yes, she was.
She was, okay.
She was even interviewed.
Okay, cool.
And also one cast member that we haven't met at all during
from Little White Lie.
From Little.
I think she played one small role in senior year though. So technically we did meet her.
That's true. That is true.
But also
where was the actress of Luna Lovejoy?
I don't know. We didn't get Luna Lovegood. The show was ruined.
Although we did get did we get the Luna Lovegood from the sequel? Because I only found out.
I did not see her. She's maybe one of the only people that I'm not sure we saw.
They do say almost everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that I like super care about was there, but they so I don't know who's missing, but they did say almost everybody.
Yeah, because
and that's not to be mean to anybody who couldn't show up. You're a fine actor.
Yeah,
and it's hard to pick.
Yeah, it's also life is busy. Like,
yeah,
this was when society was functioning and people had plans. So the fact that they were able to gable this many people in this week and to do all this is crazy. Like, and apparently it also gave an idea of what the rehearsal process for StarKid is kind of like.
Well, it's sort of. I mean, with this one, like, this is a speed run.
Yeah, this is a speed run.
I'm surprised they didn't play speed run at all.
Yeah, that's my only complaint. I wish they showed more rehearsals for other than like the earlier StarKid stuff. I mean, I know why they did it because
crowd pleaser.
But they even for like Holy Musical Batman, they only played like the beginning, and it was just because Nick Gage was on the wrong spotlight.
Yeah.
Which was funny, I will say that. I think
it was I think other than that pop-up book, there was no mention at all of either Black Friday or Trail to Oregon. Trail to Oregon definitely, because I was like, oh, they're talking about all these plays, they're gonna talk about TTO, and then they never did.
Yeah.
But Black Friday, I don't think they did either.
Didn't come out yet.
Oh, true. Well, no, the pop-up book at Black Friday.
No, because the trailer came out, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, well, that makes sense. All right, then it was, wow, that sucks. It was only TTO. That sucks.
I'm pretty sure that like the big event came before Black Friday.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like October that the Black Friday came out?
Black Friday came out like in 2020, I think.
Yeah, it was March. It was like March of 2020.
The video, yeah, but I was saying that I think they performed it in October.
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
so,
we're getting off topic.
Either way, yeah. The pop-up book was still cool though. Like, and just
that was so nice of her, and it's so nice of them to like bring it backstage and seeing all the reactions, and of course Brian being a dick about it.
Yeah. I just love. Man. Oh, I wasn't in this one. It's good.
My lord. It was just nice to see everybody, and Darren too.
Darren, Chris.
Yeah, we'll talk about. I want to talk about Darren when we get into the pot and musicals, but yeah, it's good to see him again.
The reason I did this was because now that we've seen all the musicals, it kind of feels like you, especially for the performers who you see all the time, you kind of almost feels like you just get to know them a bit better. And this one is where you get to see them not just as the characters they play, but as people. And I wanted to just show you guys that, because
there is a point.
Nice.
There is a point where Darren's talking, and he's congratulating everyone on their hard work, and everybody starts applauding, and you can't hear him. And I'm like, wow, 2019, and we still can't hear Darren Chris.
Yep.
This poor guy.
Poor guy. The only time you can hear him is in GLEE.
Wink.
You were saying that you get to see them as people. You really get to see them as friends, specifically in all the inside jokes that nobody remembers, like the Brant chant. Like nobody knows where that came from.
It just possibly came from Starship. That's all they know.
Possibly Starship, but
probably Starship. Yeah,
but I don't know if. I guess they just one day decided to just start shouting Brant, and then they found out that he didn't like that, so they just kept doing it even more.
That's theater kids, though. You come up with these inside jokes.
Yeah, and they stick.
They never die.
They stick.
Pixar's perspective never dies.
Pixar's perspective never dies.
It never. We do. We're not even in theater, but we're doing it. We did it.
Yeah.
It's just so. Nice.
You want to know? You want to know what is a theater kid?
The timer?
The timer.
All right. Well, that was StarKid Homecoming. So let's.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing.
All right. So mostly for the recaps, I'm good with mine. It's you two who are going to be recapping things. So I'm going to be quiet for most of the time.
Yes,
maybe asking a few questions or two.
I mean, take the initiative. So like, Wash and I have guidance, but otherwise, do whatever you want.
All right. Also, I should point out, and I hope you actually did this, Random. We didn't even know that we were both doing it at the same time, but KirbyFan and I actually listed out while we were watching. We also noted what was our favorite song from each musical.
Yep, I've done that.
I'm not gonna say what mine what my favorites are until we get to the spoilers later on.
Yeah,
but I did do it.
I did do it too.
Really funny that Wash and I thought to do this and we didn't even know.
Yeah, and I was just like, sure, that sounds great. But
I thought it was gonna one up you two. I'll be like, oh, this is so good. And then Wash puts in the Discord one day, by the way, I've been ranking my favorite songs songs for soundtrack as I've been going. I'm like, man.
Yeah, I have a favorite for each one, and if not,
okay,
some were tougher than others, but I have a favorite.
Right. Okay. Ranking the soundtracks was pretty tough, but my favorites for each were pretty clear.
Yeah.
Like I had an obvious favorite.
Most of them, yeah. There were a couple that were tougher. But
Yeah.
let's get started.
Yep.
From the very beginning, 2009's
A Harry Potter musical. So, which one of you is going to recap your or are you two just going to talk about it? Yeah, you two are just going to talk about it.
Let's just talk. We didn't recap for CinemaSun, so let's just talk.
Yeah, just talk about it. Go ahead. What are your two thoughts after rewatching it again?
I was very disappointed that, like, Draco's diaper joke was always there.
It
was?
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, it's not. It's like a joke. It's not critical to the character and what they are, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So my number one takeaway from this was that it's like Joe Walker and Jim Pavolo are so easy to hear. Like, they're vivid. It's like they have microphones. Everyone else is like, you're trying your best. Good job. But them, it's like, it's so easy. Well, I could hear every word.
Well, that's because
they're loudmouths like
me. Exactly. They're loudmouths like us.
Us, yeah.
Yeah. Joe Walker obviously uses stage voice, and Jim Pavolo is just loud, just loud.
Yeah.
Literally every line he has, he shouts.
I'll say this during my rewatch. When I was starting this out, I had two different attempts, and both of them I fell asleep. I fell asleep. And I'm pretty sure like both times it was like I was like ha ha ha, really enjoying the Quarmort scenes, and then everything else I passed out. So and here's the point where I reveal my dastardly scheme. I 2 times speeded this.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you were not into it?
It was just getting so long, and I just couldn't.
Wait. Did you 2 times speed the Quarlamort moments?
Not the Quarlamort moments.
Okay.
And I didn't, because, spoilers, I ended up doing this for quite a few of these, but I never do it for any of the songs, because I do want to, like, listen to them critically.
Good.
But
okay.
There was so many of them where it's like, oh my god. Like with this one, it was like, this is so, like, mean-spirited and slow. I can't do this.
Okay, makes sense. All right.
So, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to get to these so much, just because of the opinion changes. But I guess here's the first shocker of the night. I disagree. Other than the Hermione stuff, I actually and the Ginny stuff, they hurt. But otherwise, I actually thought it was really chill. Okay. I really appreciated the laid back atmosphere of it all. It kind of reminded me of like definitely spoilers, a less good, but also a much more like younger Trail to Oregon, in how it's very like, it's kind of random. It's like, you're just doing this to have fun.
Sure.
And I really appreciated that. A lot of the characters I wound up liking. Maybe it's because, we have Trail to Oregon now. But even like Harry, I remember talking about how much of a jerk Harry was, and how because of that I couldn't even really like Darren Criss. But I liked Harry a good amount in this one, actually. Most of what he did, it just didn't come off as rude to me this time. It was mostly just like he's not smart. Like he's kind of like he's a cool kid, but he's the cool kid that wants to get along with everyone. Like that's why I think I like Harry more this time. On rewatch, I got the vibe that even if he is being rude, he doesn't want anybody to dislike him, or anybody doesn't want to start trouble. No one's gonna die this year. That's kind of the vibes I got from him, and because of that, I was also able to like Darren Criss a lot more in the role.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are other things, like of course, Quirrell Demort is my favorite part of the thing still. Quirrell I liked a lot more. I remember saying in the episode that it was like, yeah, Quirrell Demort's cool, but it's really Joe Walker as Voldemort. But no, Quirrell Demort, I think both of them work really well.
I agree.
I've still got my problems, Ginny stuff hurts, Hermione stuff hurts. Ginny stuff especially, like with Ron clapping in her face and her like whining and crying, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
That was awful. And it double hurts now because it's like we know Joey Richter now. So it hurts even more. But I don't know. I had a lot of fun this time. And when I wasn't having fun, it was like, this is cool. This is all right. It wasn't like, ugh.
Wow, I did not expect that change. I expected Wash's response. I did not expect you to like it more.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a masterpiece, but it's fun.
I'm glad.
I'll say this. It's not a masterpiece, but it's fun.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah.
All right, here's my hot take. I don't like going back to Hogwarts at all. But the rest of the soundtrack I really like. But going back to Hogwarts, oh my god, way too long, way too repetitious. The main melody's not even that good. I did not like it. It was annoying. Everything else is good. I like the rest of the soundtrack.
It definitely like mixed poorly. Well, I mean, the whole audio is mixed poorly.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of this that could be better if they had like proper audio that time around. For my favorite song, I'm gonna have to go with "To Dance Again." The Voldemort number, a lot of fun. It's we mentioned before that the extra touch of Voldemort willing Harry Potter to dance is as the kookiness and villainness. It's just fun. It's a good fun. It's better than sequel. I'll say that.
Well, we'll get there. It's not too far
Yeah,
off.
we'll get to that
We're
when
not
we
too
get to
far
that.
off. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about musical?
The only other thing I'll have to say, this is just gonna be something that I remember noticing it. I don't think I ever mentioned it while we were recording for these, but StarKid freaking loves this one gag where they have, and it's usually like the first big number, where like everybody sings the big note, and then right afterwards the entire cast is doing exaggerated like heavy breathing, like, and I took note every single time. So many of these musicals have that exact same gag. It was getting silly.
I guess it's because it's relatable.
Oh, StarKid was getting silly? Really?
Really? I had no idea they could do that.
I even noticed during the Tenumentary, there was a point where Nick Lang was directing the cast, and there was a point where you could see him trying to direct the cast to do the heavy breathing gag because 10 years later he still loves that gag.
It's, I mean, to be fair, as someone who's been in that point where it's like, oh god, I understand. All right, that's a Harry Potter musical. Number 2, Me and My Gumshoe.
Have you ever made a joke thinking it would be a funny joke, and then months later people are still making it, and you're like, I've come to hate my own creation?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, who wants to go first? Who wants to say what they have to say?
Why, thank you for going first, Watt.
Okay, fine. Here's what I'll say. There's one song in here. Not really. Was it a song? There was one point where Joey Richter. I have to compartmentalize. Joe Walker, Joey Richter. There was one song where Joey Richter was thinking, "Say yes, then I say yes, I must confess." But and like when I heard that, I was like, "That's Penny Lane." Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. That's the one. That's what I have to say about Me and My Dick. Because also I fast forwarded through most of this. Oh, I said in our first watch through that I thought that the songs were better here than they were in musical, and maybe they still are. But I ended up I liked it less because it was just so mean and so tiring with these penis jokes. Just like Rancid said, there's a point where it just gets old.
Yeah.
I was going for a walk. I was going for the first 3. I listened to the soundtrack separately, just because for one reason or another I found that easier to hear them. So I'm doing Me and My Dick. I'm going for a walk. The opening number is playing. I'm like, all right, I know I have headphones on, but if anybody's around in like a 2-foot vicinity, I have to pause. But I'm listening to the opening number, and I'm listening to like a lot of the rest of the soundtrack, and I'm like, damn, is Me and My Dick the best song in this play? Like, seriously? I won't say whether or not it is, but by the end I was like, okay. otherwise, I've already had more to say about it than I did in the episode proper. It's just, like so much of what I have written here are just lines that immediately contradict each other. Like one that I see right here. I'm upset with Vanessa and I'm not talking to her. 2 minutes later, so Vanessa.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. There's a joke about Batman and Robin, and it's like, oh, that's funny because they did Holy Musical Batman. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a joke where the one that they keep slut shaming, I forget her name, but she has a line where it's like some guy I think it's like a guy at the liquor store has the quote jailbait hot for me, and I was like, seriously? We haven't even gotten the sequel yet.
Yeah.
There were some minor chuckles that I felt this time, like when Joey goes to Vanessa's house and Joey looks at Dick for advice, and Dick turns around and he goes, "Oh, me." Like that got a chuckle. I actually gotta say, I specifically have written here Act 2, Part 2. This is when Dick is obviously gone and Joey is listening to his heart and trying to win over Vanessa. I was actually like impressed with how much I was laughing during that. It was actually like good. And I mean, it's pretty telling that, you know, the one part of the show that has nothing to do with dicks and pussies and all that is like the good part. But I forget what Joey says, but he says it. And then you see AJ Holmes like cover his mouth and he goes, "Good line, Joey." There's a part later on. Later on where Hart is like shouting at Joey. He's like, "Why are you wearing those clothes? Those are terrible."
It's the only one I have.
It's the only one I have. So it's like they're especially watching it twice. Yes, there is good to me and my dick. That's not the point. The reason this is a foul isn't because there's no quote unquote good parts. Like everything is going to have something good in them. Just because something is like, oh, but this is so bad, but remember that one part? Like that, this is rotten because of what it is. That's all I have, and that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah.
All right.
The one joke I'll give a shout out to, just because it's a nerdy musical joke, was it's like a hard skip the beat. Oh no, that's just because they're trying to dance a waltz in 4/4 time. Like, okay. That's a good chuckle right there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I guess the only other thing that I have to say is that because I had already finished it, I did stop. I think it was Act 2, Part 5. It was like right before Gotta Find His Dick, like right before that.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know, enough is enough. I think it was around the point where there's this good line. Hart's like, "You should listen to your heart, Joey. No, you screwed things up last time, and I'll do it again." Like a really good line, but it's when, you know, Joey and Sally go to get intimate, and Joey's like, "Sorry, I can't be with you because I don't have my dick." And it's just like this whole thing where it's like, you know, they need sex in order to coexist. And that's when I was just like, okay, all that's left from here on out is Land of the Dick stuff. I am not missing anything. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the second musical that I watched at 2 times speed.
Yep.
Good God, it was getting irritating.
Yep. Is that all you have to say about Me and My Gumshoe? Or Me and My Dick?
If I never hear Me and My Gumshoe again, I'll die happy.
I will gladly keep calling him Me and My Dick. But anything else?
It was funny at first, but now it's just like, stop.
I'll take that as like, we're good. And with that note, we move on to the third StarKid musical, a Harry Potter sequel. I am very interested to hear both of your opinions on this one.
Watch go first.
It's worse than musical. It's so we mentioned before that Harry Potter is definitely improved as a character compared to the first. Like when it was starting out, I was having fun. Yeah, this is funny. There's some good humor. I was like, okay, it's like the good old like Lupin, but this was before like that hideous line in the second act. But then Umbridge.
I knew it.
Umbridge, and then Umbridge. And Umbridge plus Dumbledore. Like that
Big
musical
yikes.
number was where it's like this sucks. Full on sucks. Like the whole premise of that is just hideous to me.
Yeah. I'm guessing you times 2 that speed as well.
I like I said, the first 10 minutes I was having fun, especially like the
opening evil song,
the opening,
Be Prepared.
the evil song, yeah, and Draco's dad. Also, I wanted to mention this. I didn't realize until watching the sequel that like the whole thing with like Draco Malfoy like having these like dancing and just gesticulations, that wasn't as much in the first one as it was in the sequel. Like Draco went hard on just like writhing around the ground.
I mean, he was trying to be like his father.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh, Kirby fan, I don't know if you know this, but they mentioned pig farts because they go to Hogwarts and they kind of sound similar, you know?
Okay. All right. Let's continue.
This kind of just soured it more for me, even though it's like isolated, it's fine, but Harry actually being nice to Hermione and like Ron also being nice to Hermione, it's that, and then it's like, okay, but then what is chronologically next in their adventure is just the same like hatred, and also the Ron being nice to Hermione gets retconned because Sirius Black says never tell a girl you like her, and that's supposed to be like a haha funny, but like we see what the result of that was. Kirby fan, what do you think?
I'm trying to like piece together like a way to say this quickly, but I can't condense the hatred I have of this musical. The first thing that I see right here, just looking at the notes, well, the first note that I saw was Umbridge. Oh no. But I remember a big thing that I talked about was the incompetency of the script, and I brought up a lot of examples. One that I totally missed, and I got on my second watch, and I noted this word for word when Umbridge is talking to the girl. She says, "No alcohol unless there's plenty to go around," even though they're 10 or 11 or whatever, and no 11-year-old is gonna be drinking alcohol. Like, they forget the most basic of things. It is such a poorly written script. And then you get into things like, you know, actually Umbridge herself with Dumbledore. I won't. The only thing that I have to add to this is that I respect Joe Walker for playing the character not as a guy in a dress, but as a woman. There are multiple points where it's like, you know, oh, haha, Umbridge looks like a man, huh? And you know, Joe Walker, you know, gets upset and says, "No, I'm a woman." And it's like, I respect that, Joe Walker. I like the way that he did that, I guess, if nothing else. But the writing for it, the Dumbledore stuff, horrible.
And the diaper, of course.
And the I don't even have to
Thank
bring
God I watched
that's the one.
Speed.
That's the one I could condense. Draco in a diaper. What else do I have to tell you? But I guess this is my hot take. Right away, I did not like Lupin at all. Look, I love Brian Holden, but the first thing we see of Brian Holden, he's abusive to Hermione. He's drunk in front of kids, swearing, and they try to play him up as the cool teacher, and he's not. He's not a cool teacher. He's a drunk. He's an alcoholic. Takes it down on students. Has them eat dead animals. Flirts with them. And that was the point when Lupin, because I said, look, no matter, I was in the same boat as Wash, right? Of course, you know, it's not over yet. Amazing song. Some other good stuff about the openings. I'm having a good time. But I remember telling myself, no matter what, you have to get to the line about Lupin flirting with the student. Because I watched the episode, and I remember thinking to myself, am I overselling this? It kind of feels like I'm overselling this. I got there, and it's like, I didn't undersell it, but I didn't oversell it. I didn't oversell it either. It's like, it's that bad. So that was the point where I said, nope, just like me and my dick, can't finish this one. Rotten. Just rotten. I had something else. What was it? Oh, yeah. Funny. Harry, it's the complete reversal. And, like, Harry starts nice, but I thought Harry was a jerk in this one. I thought he was super unlikable, and I'm like, what the hell? I think he's fine in musical, but I think he's a jerk in sequel. Like, what happened?
I'm not sure, because I thought he was more likable in sequel.
No, not at all. I thought, like, he started nice, and then things just started getting into his head a lot faster, and it was just being a lot ruder to more people. And this is another thing with the script incompetency. He's like, oh yeah, back in the Muggle world, they call me a douchebag, and it's like, your aunt and uncle have you forced living under their staircase. Nobody thinks you're a douchebag. Nobody knows you. That's the whole point. This sucks. This is horrible. I hate this.
This definitely felt like super rushed in the script writing. Like oh shit. Part of the musical went really well. We gotta get this in.
It's insulting. It's insulting to trans people. It's insulting to
gay people.
It's insulting to
this women.
All right, okay. I'm gonna say the P word once, and we're gonna move on. Okay, it is insulting to people who are like not. I can't even say. It's like I don't want to make it that uncomfortable, but you know what P word I'm talking about.
Yep.
It is insulting to people who are not that. Just awful.
Wow. I haven't heard that anger from you since Bug's Life, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, like I still like A Bug's Life less. Don't worry.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. Speaking of bugs, the one.
All right. So random. You want to join?
Wait. Let me introduce it. The one that gave you faith in this podcast episode, Starship.
The one that convinced me not to ask you to cancel it.
Yes.
So feel free to step in now that we're at a good one.
Yes.
I mean I like musical, but still. So Starship, I was pretty worried about this one. Just because now that I'd seen so many, I say so many, but at least like one other musical that was, I genuinely enjoyed before having seen it. I was like, oh boy, is this gonna fall apart? No. It's amazing. I love it.
I'm gonna say, like, this. I was watching this, and it's like this isn't like huge, amazing, but this is so comfortable. This feels like comfort food. Watching this, it's just so. We've said before that it's the very standard in terms of plot, but and that kind of makes it work. Is that you kind of know what it just goes to, and so you can just kind of switch your brain off for a bit and just really enjoy the jokes and the characters and especially the songs. We said before, Darren Chris's best work.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna mention this. This is Darren Chris's second attempt to be someone other than Harry Potter, and it slipped out of his hand both times.
Sad.
So that was
sad.
Yeah. So no, Darren Chris Ford.
I really
Harry Potter.
This stuck out to me. The way, not like the moral to Bug, I guess. Like the moral of the story is, it's basically like Ratatouille, right? Like anybody can cook. This is like anybody can be what they want to be, as long as they have the passion, the energy, the drive. But what I really liked was when, again, I'm not thrilled with Pincer's death, but when Bug gets him in the chute and he understands, like, because the whole play he's like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or even the one, but this is what I want to do with my life, yada yada. And he kind of realizes that saying isn't necessarily so much to stop him from doing what he wants to do, but it's just to ensure like other people. It's like it's very selfless. And he it's not to say that Bug is selfish, because he's not, but a lot of what drives him is his own personal gain, right? The whole reason
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he wants to be a Starship Ranger, but the reason like he really goes through with it is because, oh, there's a girl I like. So when he gives the ultimate sacrifice at the end, it's the first like truly selfless act that he did. And when that kind of clicked, not only did it give me a new appreciation for the script, like that was kind of like that oomph moment that I talked about that Starship didn't have. It also kind of broke me. I like needed to get like tissues. I was crying. Like it was so powerful, especially with Joey Richter's acting. Like he's giving the performance of his life up there.
And Yumi said it in the podcast. What a glow up for Joey
yes.
Richter.
Yep. Oh my god, yes, going from freaking Ronan himself.
Okay, I agree so much with everything. So now I'm gonna bring up like a minor note that I have, and this is the minorest note, and I noticed this my second time watching, and now it is, for the pun, bugging the fuck out of me. I noticed sometime in, I was like, what is that Beck doing there? And then I realized, oh my god, there's two of their cameras have a dead pixel. You can see a tiny white pixel. and it's only for two of the cameras, but it was so persistent, and it was like, oh no, I can't look away. I need to see the dead pixel.
And now that is Watch's most hated musical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, frick Starship sucks.
Here's one that is like, again, this is my second time watching, but it did, the ending of it was like, wait a minute, the Galactic League is still evil. Well, they didn't fix that. They just killed like the Galactic League's the leader's like son. Like,
yeah,
they're gonna die.
Yeah.
That's not a happy ending.
Well, we don't know that, and it's fine.
I mean, they could just stay on the planet, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
But that's what I'm saying, is that like Bug is supposed to be the ambassador to the Galactic League, but the Galactic League is evil.
If I mean that's fair. If I got to get my super big complaint in there, and I do remember the very least, I think Random and Anayume bringing it up. Like, not super certain about Watch, but like Bug and February have no chemistry. Like, at all.
Yeah.
They have no chemistry. They don't work off each other. They're not cute together. I mean, it's not like this isn't a deal breaker, but it's like when the driving force of Bug's motivation is his love for this woman and they don't have chemistry, that's kind of a glaring issue.
So many ships in Starship, and they focus on the weakest one.
Yup.
Like,
I already really liked it, but I like really like Tootsie and Mega Girl this time around.
Yup. Welcome to my world.
I'll spell it out for you, dude. She's an ROBOT. You can't fool me with numbers.
If there's nothing else you two want to say about Starship, this is
so much to say.
There is. This is one of the ones that I actually, one of the two. I only wound up rewatching two, but this was one of the two that I actually rewatched. And the fun thing is, with this one, I got to watch it with someone on like on Discord FaceTime for the first time. So I got to watch them watch it for the first time as well and experience it for the first time. And just to like see them react to it and just like, and then watch it again was all just really cool. And yeah. And there wasn't really anything I noticed because I've seen this so many different times. Like, I know almost everything. I didn't see the pixel.
I am a Starship Ranger. Shut up, you're drunk. No, I'm drunk.
I had that. No, I had that in my notes too. Or there was one that I didn't even notice because it wasn't like edited / shot very well. But there's one gag where Taz has a dumbbell, and then Taz lets go of the dumbbell, and it floats up to the sky. But they don't like show it very well, so it's
bug if you
I love when Junior's spying on them. He goes, "I should spy on people more often." And then the second time, he goes, "Second time in 25 years." Junior is, it's tough. It's like he's probably still my favorite character. I will say, Roach, I did find significantly less cute this time. I wasn't as wowed as I was my first time. But the good news to that is that I got to appreciate Commander Up a lot more. So now it's like, instead of Junior and Roach, now it's Junior and Up. And it's like, it's so hard. I probably still have to go with Junior just because the best scene of the play is still when he's talking to his dad about the weed in the room and the new mom.
Yeah.
Like, that's still probably the best part of the whole play for me. So I got to go with Junior. But like, Commander Up. Oh my God.
One of my favorite Joe Walker roles, honestly. I arguably like it more than Voldemort.
I didn't pay attention that time, shoot. I should have paid attention to figure that one out.
Yeah, I'm with you. Why?
I will say, I said that, I'll change my mind from the original recording. I like Junior this time around.
Yes, I'm so glad.
I thought it was much funnier this time around. I think it helped that I knew where the character was going. That when he was being I'm sorry, but you have to. I know I'm your boss now.
I still love that stuff too, of course.
yeah, that was funny. But yeah, so yeah, good stuff, great stuff all around.
I love in the reprisal of Kick It Up a Notch. When he's singing about being evil, he's shooting them. He's doing it while wearing plastic pink sunglasses and smoking pot and coughing.
I think the pink glasses is a reference to also Darren Criss in Glee. So
that's fair, but also just like the silliness of it.
Yeah. I love it. I loved it.
Masterpiece.
Yes.
Absolute masterpiece. I really needed this after Me and My Dick and Harry Potter sequel. I really needed this.
Yeah, I'll say this was the first musical that I watched at regular speed all the way through.
I would be very mad if you times it a bit. I would be very mad if you times this one, but I won't be mad if you times the next one.
I'll also say really quick, I finished every other play. It was just sequel and Me and My Dick. I finished all the others.
Other than one, there was only one where I didn't expect you to finish.
Which one? I'm curious.
We'll get to that one when we get to that. Okay. But before we do that, holy musical Batman.
So, confession time.
Yeah. You like it, don't you, Squidward?
Yes! Yes, I admit it, Random. I like holy musical Batman.
Yeah.
I don't love it, but just something about its tone this time. Like, I mean, I'll say this. The music annoyed me.
Yeah.
But also remember what I said in the Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals episode. I'm not thrilled with musicals. A lot of songs are very come and go for me. So that didn't bother me that much. But just the tone of it, it's just like, it's so unapologetically silly. And I love that a lot. It's not perfect. It's got a lot of problems. But I'll also say, Nick Lang, I don't think is one of those problems anymore. I actually liked him a lot more as Robin this time. And I feel like I'm alone. I feel like I'm alone on that.
I'm glad you liked him more.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoyed it more.
I mean, this is the kind of play Superman goes, "Oh, Batman's not that great," and Gotham's reaction are to just all collectively pull out their guns and point them at him. Like, this is the level of like, no, like this is just pure silly. And I'm very glad that Rancid isn't here because I don't have to feel awkward about saying this. But I even have in my notes, it's like, oh man, I'm really not looking forward to when this gets a lot worse. And then like, it's Act 2 and Superman is rushing around the Earth to turn back time because that happened in the late 70s movie. Yeah. And I remember being like, it didn't get worse.
What did you think of Sweet Tooth rewatching?
I liked him a lot more too. The performance was about what I remembered, except obviously now I have Jeff Blim bias. But he is the Joker with candy. But like on my first rewatch, I was like, yeah, he's just the Joker with candy, whatever. On my second time, it's like, wait a minute, I like the Joker. It's like, yeah, once that kind of processed, and like, you know, he's pulling out all the individual candy pieces, and it's like, oh my god, how's he doing that? I'm just like, no, this is a lot of fun. Yeah, it's very silly, just like the rest of the play is very silly.
What do you think?
I like that.
What do you think changed?
I just think what changed is that I let myself have more fun. I think that's what it was. After Starship, like, I don't want to say Starship influenced this, but after, like, what we were getting from StarKid, I expected silly, but not, like, this silly. And I do kind of have, like, a limit to how silly I want things to be. But this one also does, like, a pretty good job keeping it level. Like, there are the emotional moments in this. Even those are silly. Like, oh, my parents are dead. And I'm also a billionaire. Like, it gives you the context that you need for the characters, but it's like, that's still silly. Because my problem with it was that it's like, oh, it's silly, but it's super serious, and they don't mesh. And now it's like, well, I wouldn't call this serious. I would call this a lull. It's very silly, and then it has its lulls, and then it goes back to being silly.
Yeah, there's a good amount of this where it just kind of gets boring. Not a lot going on.
Bosh, you've been quiet.
Okay.
What do you think?
My just because I knew that where it was coming, I was like, I gotta get the numbers on this. I counted all of Sweet Tooth's prop puns.
How many?
32 prop puns.
Oh my god.
And that's not counting the ones where he name drops a candy. Like specifically the one where he names a candy and then pulls it out of his jacket. 32 of those.
Jeez.
But also Penguin, Candy, and Batman all had 5 candy puns of their own. Like Batman's pulling out a crunch bar for punch. I forget what it was, and also the Penguin had fruit gushers.
Yep.
It was all over the place. But Sweet Tooth, holy crap, 32 his very first scene had 10 candy props.
Yep.
That's so many. That first scene when Penguin calls Chilly Willy on, there's just this guy in a penguin costume, and then Chilly Willy dies. I just remember thinking to myself, like, he died too young. Died too young. Rip Chilly Willy.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. That's just like the thought process this got me in. It's just like I don't care about this or that. It's like I see a guy in a penguin suit die, and it's like he lived a good life. I like it. I'm sorry.
You could say it was bittersweet.
Yes, a gobstopper. Yeah. Oh my god, best pun.
Gobstopper.
That's still my favorite one. In terms of what I felt about it, I liked it better than sequel. I'll say that. It was just more like I couldn't get into most of it. Beyond the candy puns, I couldn't get into most of it. It felt like it was just dragging his feet for a lot of it. I didn't hate it nearly as much as our buddy Count Rancid,
our good friend,
our good pal.
I think how Count Rancid felt about Holy Musical Batman may be like how I felt about Good Dinosaur. Like, it's just a personal hatred that just between them and the art form, or not the art form, the movie / play.
And I'll just say it, like I couldn't get into the songs at all. Like
you are not alone on that one. Don't worry. There is one song that I really liked, and you'll find out what that is.
There's also one song that I really liked, but I also give a shout out to the like Count Rancid said, like the intro.
Yeah.
I forgot about that actually. Was that Dylan Saunders?
Yes, of course it was Dylan Saunders.
Okay. Yeah, it was definitely Dylan Saunders.
The Dylan Saunders intro. One night. That like holy
one
hell.
Shot. Yeah, it was just orgasm to the ears.
I think Dylan Saunders was the guy playing the one of the crooks. He's like, all right, don't you make a racket. And the guy's like, but I bought my tennis racket.
No, that wasn't Dylan Saunders. That was Jim Pavolo.
That was Jim Pavolo. Well, no, Jim Pavolo was the one with the tennis racket, but
yes,
who's the other guy?
It was like, I don't know. He was only in like that. He also played the shopkeeper though, who like
that guy. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. Who went to his wife Belinda with lasagna. That guy.
Yep. I have. Although speaking of Jim Pavolo, I have ice in my veins.
Yep. Yep. All right.
Get your broke ass out of here, Two-Face.
a broke ass. I love that. They're having all these like puns around, and they're just like he's talking about like he has $2 bills.
Get your broke ass out of here, Two-Face. And the way he says it too is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we want to mention about Holy Musical Batman, or are we gonna?
I think it's very. I think it's very quotable. I like.
Oh, a detail I didn't notice the first time around was that Jeff Blim shot Batman's parents.
Yeah, I noticed that when we
really?
rewatched it.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's only
that's
for a
cool.
tiny minute.
It's like a couple seconds.
It implies that it's Sweet Tooth, but it could just be a different guy.
I think.
Yeah, but I like that's good use of your actors though.
Especially since this was Jeff's debut in StarKid. They're like,
Yes, it
who's
was.
that guy? All right, let's graduate away from Harry Potter.
We escaped Hogwarts a second time.
And now we're back to senior year.
God, I'm never going back.
I appreciate that reference. Who wants to go first?
I feel like Wash and I, based on what Wash has said on Discord, I feel like we have a similar experience.
Well, I mean, this was also the one where I set this at 2 times speed, especially because, like, Harry Potter was even worse than he was in the first musical.
Bingo! I agree.
Holy hell, it is so bad. And like, the whole thing is that, like, everybody is also appalled at Harry Potter, but it still doesn't excuse just how fucking awful. Okay.
Especially to his friends, like Ron and Hermione, and Ginny. Like, ugh.
Oh god, yeah, like breaking up with Ginny for
that was dumb.
For your own pride. I'll say this. Maybe I mentioned this in the episode. We didn't finish editing that one at the time of this recording, but I felt that the second act, or like if I had stopped, like when I was finished with that first act, I was like, oh my god, is this as bad as Me and My Dick? Like, this is just horrendous. The second act, especially like there's a good like 40 minutes chunk in there where it's like, this is working. Like, I mean, first off, it's like Harry Potter is not interacting with and shouting at the rest of Hogwarts, so it's not this fucking cruel thing. But also like the part of a Harry Potter like talking to Dumbledore about moving on, and then the song everything ends. Like, this works for me. Like, this actually fits really well for the this kind of setup that you know, this is the final Harry Potter musical, and Harry Potter already by that point was not as big as it was when they got started, and they're moving on. Like, you only get to appreciate the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man now when he's already gone. But that's at least my thought. It's like it's like, once Harry Potter stopped getting the stick in his ass, then it started to get better for me. Although the two like plot conveniences with the Phoenix tears and also the sword out of the hat, that was much, and it also felt like they were trying to encapsulate the same silliness of the original, but this is like 3.5 hours, man. Oh.
It's so long.
It's so long. What about you?
So my opinions are largely the same. I still liked the Tom Riddle stuff, but less than last time.
Yeah. There's one. Most of Tom Riddle I remember liking, except for one scene that I thought could have been cut, and that was the scene with his family. Like, you could have just cut a character or song there. Not a character, not a song, but like, you could have cut a character and some lines of dialogue there. I said more with less.
The only thing of note for me, I don't even remember if you two liked him all that much, but I specifically remember talking about how much I did not like Gilderoy. But that's because I was under the guise the whole time that he was going to be the villain. But he's just a red herring. He's not really a villain. He's just a jerk.
Yeah.
So I figured on rewatch, oh, now that I know this and I know about that incredible monologue that he has, maybe I'll like him a little more. No. Now that I know, and now I'm like, oh my god, it's like you either don't know or it's so obvious. There's like no middle ground here. But the monologue is still incredible, and that song, Wizard of the Year, it's Gilderoy. That's a jam.
It's so good.
And the idea of a composer playing his own song, I love that a lot.
Yeah. That little fun with we mentioned this with Joe Walker forgot to bring out the diary.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
and you can hear AJ Holmes saying da 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 da,
and you can see Darren Criss like trying his hardest not to laugh.
Yeah.
And I'll point this out. This scene overall stuck. The Death Day party. But I thought it was kind of funny that like Gilderoy like steps away from the piano to quickly say, "Great job, Harry! You ruined the Death Day party," and then went right back to the piano. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
No, I think this is probably like my biggest laugh, and it's such a weird one, but I really love it. It's when Harry sees Voldemort. He goes, "I thought you were dead." Nope. And then they move on. Like, I was just like, that's perfect. That's like actually it. That's all that you need to say.
All you need to say.
But yeah, that last half hour or so when, you know, they still have jokes, but they mostly just stick on like the emotional weight of moving on.
Yeah.
It's like dude, I'm watching a different production now. This isn't the same thing anymore. This is so much better.
My thing is the writers wanted to end it. That was their prime goal. Like, this is the one that will end, so there's no more Harry Potter musicals. But they didn't know how to get there. So they were like, how the fuck do we get there?
I agree.
And once they were like, okay, we're there somehow. Now that we're there, let's do what we have to do.
This definitely feels like they had that idea and they tried to work backwards from it. But their way of doing that is by making Harry Potter awful.
The last thing that I have to say about this, I remember saying in the episode that like the goodbye to Darren Criss, it was really nice, but I just kind of felt a little weird because realistically speaking, no one else is really going to get that. That mostly comes from a place of like, I've been there, I've been involved with stuff, and other people get this big goodbye and I get like nothing. So that's mostly just from like a place of personal experience. I do want to stress, it's nothing against Darren Criss. It's nothing against him.
Yeah.
In fact, every time that I see Darren Criss, like, outside of the Harry Potter role, I like him. He seems like a cool guy. He's funny. Yeah. He's a great actor, amazing singer. Like, nothing against him. This has nothing to do with Darren Criss. It's just, as somebody who knows what it feels like to just kind of not get the attention that someone else gets, it just felt a little weird.
And like I said, I did feel kind of sad for Darren Criss that this is all he gets. This one character is all he gets. He tried twice, and he couldn't make it for either of them, which is a shame.
Yeah.
My last thing I'm gonna say was I completely forgot about Brian Holden playing the snake. Just having the most pathetic voice. It's like, yeah,
I'm a snake. I'm a snake. I'm a snake.
Like Voldemort saying, "Oh, get the crystal from Harry Potter," and says, "Yes, master." And then Brian Holden just like kicks him and says, "Give it, hand it over."
That's the beauty of stage readings like that. It was like you don't quite experience it anywhere else.
And Quirrell Demore confirmed that, obviously.
Yep. That was great. Okay is wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that was a callback to Potter Musical the first time because
really
I can't look. I did not like Potter Musical. Okay,
but you loved Voldemort.
Yeah, but like we had 4 plays in between that. I had Me and My Dick in My Head, Potter sequel, so much that I didn't like. I was like, oh, Starship, and then Batman was like there, I guess. But it's like there was a lot had happened. I was not the same person I was.
Let's get twisted.
Let's get twisted. I like
Yeah,
it.
let's get twisted. Thoughts?
I did a count. There were 55 instances of the word fuck in this.
Yikes! I am expecting a higher number for Firebringer, but that's still a big yikes.
Oh, we'll get the Firebringer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Dave, there's one thing I know about Twisted. It heavily relied on potty humor.
Especially like just swearing for comedy, like so many times. Yeah,
and sometimes I think it works. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like you mostly hear Jafar as very mild mannered and not swearing too much, and then when he says you need to back me the fuck up or shut the fuck up, I think that works. I like that. That makes me laugh every time. But I understand when it's literally they pop it like it's popcorn.
Here's something. We didn't know this. We didn't realize this when we were recording. That even though Twisted was saying "What the fuck, Cruella," Disney was like, "Well, fuck it anyway."
Yes.
Oh, yes. Do you know how many people I know I've seen on Twitter have made StarKid jokes about Cruella? Because even they were like, we're not touching that shit with a 10-foot pole. Like, there's no defending that.
I honestly, I still want to watch Cruella because it still looks it still looks kind of fun, and my partner apparently really liked it. So I don't know. I still want to try it out, but it was funny to see people, like you said, like suddenly bringing up StarKid while we were recording this.
I'm really curious to hear Wash's thoughts on this, because you went into Twisted at first with a certain mindset.
Yes.
And it kind of clouded your vision of Twisted a bit. And now that you got the point, I want to see what you thought about it now.
I was still bothered by it. And it took me a bit to figure out what that is. It's honestly Jafar. I feel like Jafar doesn't work as a protagonist because it's just he's too perfect. Like it's the Twisted number, like it's a great number. But for me it was just like, okay, like not the classic thing of like no, Woody, don't knock over bars. I didn't feel like that was a big crossroads for him, because it made absolute sense for him to take it away from a megalomaniacal pervert like Aladdin.
Yeah, you're 16 and I'm 33.
I was orphaned at 33.
I love that song. Okay. Really quick. I also have problems with Twisted that I didn't have before. However, I remember thinking the music was pretty whatever. It was kind of good. Complete flip flop. The music is the best part of the show.
Yeah, especially anything Dylan sings.
All my favorite songs are well, I'll let Wash finish, because like I said, I have some complaints, but also some new things that I appreciated.
I definitely love the first song, especially the Golden Rule, 1001 Nights, If I Believed, just all the stuff that is really like soulful and painful. I felt like there were a few of those where it was trying so much to be a Disney parody that it was just so hard for me to enjoy it on its own. Like, I Steal Everything, or Take Off Your Clothes, especially Take Off Your Clothes. Like, I could not hear A Whole New World during that one. Like, I don't know, it was bothering me a lot. Even though I feel like it shouldn't, it just, I couldn't get past it. Like they've done parodies before, but it's not really been like this much of a pastiche of the original. No, that's not the right word, but it leans hard into trying to be like a particular song, but because it was also trying to legally distinguish itself from it, I could hear like them trying to rearrange the rhythm very slightly in a way that doesn't work for me. Especially Take Off Your Clothes. I couldn't get that one, would just bother me so much.
Here is what my problem. It's very similar to yours. It's like the solution is different, but getting to the solution is mostly the same. I agree with you that the fact that it's parody really holds it back. My problem with it is that, and I know this was the point, but I don't think they have to go to this extreme. It's like, it relies hard on Aladdin, like, Aladdin. But in order to make that happen, the story basically stays the same, but like the characters are completely rewritten.
Absolutely.
Because what my problem with it is that it's like, you have StarKid, and when they do their parodies, they like to keep the characters in the same essence, but change things about them. Voldemort, perfect. Or Quirrell-Demort, perfect. Perfect example. All in the Harry Potter movies and the books, all Quirrell was what Voldemort was being a parasite to. Here, they're gay. Like, perfect. That's so much better. Here, but it's like there's no Jafar here. The only thing they have in common is that Jafar is a vizier. The princess, the only thing that they really have in common is that they're princesses. They're a little spoiled. Aladdin, the only thing that the Aladdins have in common is that they're thieves. Like, they have to rewrite everything to get their point across. And at that point, it's like, why is this based on Aladdin then? If you have to rewrite so much, and you still have to see Aladdin in order to fully appreciate it. So it's like it's a lose-lose. And I'm thinking, like, is there anybody here like that just like remotely makes this like, oh, it's Aladdin, that's cool? Ahmed is like dictionary definition of what the StarKid character parody should be. Like, what a waste of a character in Aladdin. You see him for like 2 minutes. They make a joke about how a tiger tore his pants so you can see his underwear. Haha, he's gone. But here it's like he took that to heart. He has his own personal like issues with how other people see him outside of his country.
He starts a war.
He starts a war. They have this amazing number about how no one remembers Ahmed, which would the verse "No one remembers Ahmed" would not work if Ahmed was anything but like a throwaway character in Aladdin. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about, where you can get something that the original creators just like would not ever think of. I love that from a writing perspective. I love that about Ahmed. Then you put Joe Walker in the role, and it's like, I like him even more.
I will disagree with Jasmine. At least at first, it was definitely trying to do the thing of like her being quote woke, but also having slaves.
I mean, it was funny. It was definitely funny. Like, on like a surface level, it's fine. It's just, when I guess I wouldn't mind that part so much if it wasn't for like everything else. Also, like, it builds on that problem, right?
Oh sure.
That's probably why it bothers me, because I got good laughs out of it, especially when she was like, oh no, I don't want this. They make this in a workshop. Oh yeah, I would know. I work in that workshop. You're supporting the problem. Like, that's funny writing.
Yeah, that is really. And the slave is like, yes, Your Highness.
yes. And look, for all the problems that I have with how they completely rewrote Aladdin, I love Jeff Blim. Because I do agree with you to take off your clothes, but otherwise, I love Aladdin songs, like, a lot. What is I Steal Everything? Like it's fun, whatever, but it's just like the music is so like, ooh, I like it.
I agree with you. It tries almost too hard to be a Disney parody, but it also doesn't do what StarKid normally does, which is what they did with Ahmed.
I keep thinking back to the Kickstarter trailer where the Lang brothers talk about Jafar and how like they sympathize with Jafar, and that was part of why I came into the first time watching it with the wrong idea, because I was waiting for them to sell me on why Jafar is a good person in Aladdin. And the way they do that is by completely rewriting
him, yeah.
Yep.
I think the only other comment that I have to make is that this is my favorite Darren Criss role in StarKid.
What?
I got it.
Wash gets it. No, do you think Aladdin is gonna take advantage of me on the flying carpet?
I don't think so.
Oh. That's right.
Me neither.
Me neither.
Oh, I forgot about that for a second. Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite parts of the show. Again, partially because it's really funny, but also because I just think it's really sweet that despite how busy he is, he makes time to come see their shows.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah. I think we've been talking a little too much about Twisted.
Yeah. But it's getting to the point where we're going to be talking much about them. And speaking of...
So we have two different musicals that came out at the same time. But let's start. Let's start with Annie.
All right, Annie.
I literally have like one thing to say about it. So do you want me to start or?
Yes.
You start.
Okay. Nick Lang carries this.
Yeah.
Nick Lang carries this hard.
He does.
Like, I don't hate it otherwise. It's so nothing. And I mean, okay, like Brian Holden as Jar Jar, I appreciate that. He plays it well. I like what StarKid did. Kind of like what I was talking about with Ahmed before. I feel like that's what they did with Jar Jar. Mm-hmm. But like, God, Nick Lang just carries this. He's so good.
Him as not Padman. What's his name?
Pappy.
Pappy.
It
gets the Lego bricks for Annie.
Him as Pappy. Lego bricks.
Him as Pappy and him as Obi were like at the end where Qui-Gon comes by and taunts him with a ghost drink. It's like, no, it's not fair. I wanted the drink.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. I fell asleep because that was incredibly boring.
I'll just have to raise his son and have him kill him instead.
I kind of like if we're gonna mention that scene in the bar, like I feel like Joe Walker, like they could have written Joe Walker's lines so much better because it just feels like internet comments where you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense, but to say that like only this deal with absolutes because that in itself is an absolute. It's like, oh God. This was like a Reddit this was a Reddit conversation you had, wasn't it?
I mean, it fits the character. Like that's definitely a character that frequents Reddit, 100%.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So here's what I'm gonna say. I was feeling something that I remembered back in Cars 2, which is that I was feeling really stressed watching Annie. I don't holy crap. I don't like Annie at all. Like Annie.
The character, the player, both.
The character. Okay, I'll start with the character.
Okay.
I don't like Annie at all.
No, I'm with you. I agree.
None of that worked. And the songs. Oh my God.
They're not good. But for like 7 out of 10 of them, I legitimately felt like the characters actually had enough to do. It didn't just feel like they were like waiting for the song to end. It actually felt like the band is singing the song, the characters are doing their thing. This is an artistic choice, and I think it works. If you disagree, that's fine. I just wanted to get in there. I just wanted to get in there and say that, but go ahead.
The first song, I felt like that was fine because that made sense for the because it felt like a sitcom intro. The Annie. Like okay,
Annie.
Fine.
Annie.
I understand that. But then like the second song where Annie is like, it felt like they were just wasting time. Like I was watching it and it's like, this feels underdeveloped. Like it feels like something went wrong and they couldn't fix it. Like somewhere along it where it's like, oh, we couldn't do what we planned to do. We couldn't do the singing that we planned to do. So we'll have the band do it and then we'll figure something out on stage. Like the Strike Back. There's so many of these where their solution is slow motion and it just doesn't work. To skip far ahead, the slow motion works in Trail to Oregon because there's also somebody singing on stage. Here, it just felt really awkward. It felt really like I was feeling really embarrassed I couldn't. I was having such a hard time watching through this one.
I'm guessing you 2x speed it, if not more.
Are you kidding me? Not only was it 2x speed, this is the one where, like, whenever there was a song, I actually, like, scrolled down so I didn't have to watch the video because I didn't feel like any of the choreography worked either. Like, that also felt like super underdeveloped, or like they didn't have enough practice. Like, they couldn't physically do what they attempted to do. Again, it felt awkward.
Yeah. I was going to say the only choreography that I think worked was the one at the end with Denise Donovan. And she did that on her own, I think.
I suppose so. I think the trouble with that is that that was also, like, just kind of too long, and the way that, like, everybody else on stage, what they do is they go, whoa, wow, and that made it so much worse than it could have been. And like as I was watching through the next all the other musicals after this, it was like, the choreography is so much better here. What happened?
Well, one more thing before we get to one of the potential goats. I have this line written down. Again, Joe Walker's character, it's like whatever, but the performance I really like. And this is one of those lines. He goes, "We're not best friends. You're a dummy, and I'm mad at you."
I didn't care for Joe Walker's character in this, but it was fun to hear Joe Walker say, "Oh dear."
And on that note, Trail to
One
Oregon.
One of the goats. So I was hella nervous coming back to this one because I did a lot of research into TTO because I had so much fun with it. And I heard a lot of negativity about this one. So I was super nervous going back into it. And haters gonna hate. This rocks. I love it.
I'm suddenly curious. What are the issues with this?
The story meanders.
No.
Well, okay. So first, let me preface. These are not my complaints. These are complaints that I've heard.
I know.
So the story meanders. The father makes me uncomfortable. It's too funny. It's too silly. It's too immature.
I'm sorry. It's too funny. When's that a problem?
It's too silly. It's not that it isn't funny. It's that it's too silly. We are. No. I don't want to make fun of anybody. No. None of those are problems. Like, all of those things are why it's so good. This play hits a lot harder than I remember. Like, the emotional scenes are a lot. I don't even want to say like a lot better, but they leave much more of an impact than I remember, which I guess also makes them better. Like I remember I said I was crying at Joey Richter in Starship. World's at Stake. I had to like stop. Like, I don't know what hit me different this time, but like I just couldn't stop. Just the song about a mother raising her daughter, like something that simple. It's like it's also like it's this perfect setup, because even just looking at like the soundtrack, and like this translates to the play, but right before this, the song is "Sometimes it pays to be an animal, sometimes don't." It's like this. It's this super silly number. It's fun, delightful. Corey Doris is awesome, and like, you know, it gets you pumped. And then the play calms you down a little bit, raises the personal stakes a little bit, and that's when you get Worlds at Stake. Yeah, and it's like, yes, this is how you do. I don't remember. I was already talking about like lulls and stuff. I forgot which play it was, but it's like you need these lulls. Like, you have a lot of fun, get that time to just breathe, and then you can hit us with the really impactful stuff. And it's perfect. And I'll say it. Dysentery World, I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot more this time around. It's a groovy tune, and it's very important, because this is when the family really, I mean, they're told about dysentery beforehand and they're warned about it, but this is when like you hear for the first time, like, no, somebody's gonna die. And without Dysentery World, the ending wouldn't have that perk going for it of like, the whole reason why it works, that nobody actually dies, is because that's what they're fighting against for a good like 60% of the play. And that only happens because of Dysentery World. So it's like, okay, groovy tune, important to the story, I like it. And then after that, you get freaking wagon is on fire, right? After they get warned about, being careful and nobody's gonna die. Then you get... It's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
My note is the son following along mom, and mom says, "Where's your other shoe?" And the son's like, "I should have stayed with dad."
Well, I don't love you more than mom, but I certainly feared you less. I did notice some complaints this time around, like when the mother finally has enough with the father and she splits up with him. Amazing, by the way, no complaints there. But she's like, "I'm gonna take what family I have left and we're gonna get to Oregon," and she leaves behind the grandfather. That kind of confused me. Like, her whole thing was like, we're a family, we're gonna leave the problem one behind. But then she leaves behind her dad, and it's like, huh? But like, that's a problem I have with it, but I'm thinking about like Annie and Twisted and sequel, and it's like, it's not that big of a deal. I think I can like get over that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a throw off. They have a line in the song, you should go next door and see something professional, which I think was referring to Annie, which is ouch.
I thought they were performed in different locations.
I forget if it was like a little theater festival or like a place with a bunch of like black box theaters or something like that.
Maybe. It was Chicago, I know.
Yeah, so they could have easily done like a theater festival where it's like just this ginormous building with like a bunch of different little theaters in it, like black box theater type of things. But I don't really remember.
And the other thing I really want to say is that I didn't realize this the first time, and when I saw this line again, I was like, wait, I gotta look this up. And the whole thing with the grandpa hating lobsters, and the daughter say, "You mean lobster backs, like the red coats?" And I had to look it up. Lobster backs were what they called like the British soldiers in Boston, which is where they came from. They mentioned Boston earlier in the production. It's like, oh, neat. I learned something.
The trail to Oregon is not only fun, it's also fun and educational.
And educational, absolutely.
There's I have a note. I have a note, like, it's kind of like with Holy Musical Batman, where it's just like, this is the headspace it puts me in. But I have a note that says Cornwallis best girl. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that, but also like I'll stick with it.
We said on the Discord, it's like, as soon as Jeff Blim says "Good morning," like, you're hooked.
Honestly, with me, it's like, I'll beat you to that one. Like, when that really, like, I calming is the only word that I can think of, but like, da na na da, like, that's even my first time watching, I'm like, oh, this is good. And then he says "good morning," and it's like, oh man.
or Grandpa saying Wisconsin.
He goes,
I want to.
No.
You're tired.
Yeah, that's. He says Wisconsin. Grandpa, what? My legs are tired.
And then he does it again. It's like,
oh my god. Okay, so going through this again with the knowledge that like what the grandpa is saying isn't just like wild rambling. Like, because you go through it the first time, he's talking about the lobsters, you're like, oh, he's just crazy. But it's actually like, no, the lobsters are real, and that's a great joke in and of itself. But on rewatch, when you're listening to him and it's not just crazy talk, and then you actually start taking the rest of what he says more seriously because of that, he's a lot better. And I already liked him, but he's a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's only one of those things you can appreciate on a rewatch. And it's like, God, it's so good.
$1 million bill.
All right, so the very ending, when they're skinny dipping in the lake, the son is happy. I really like it when Wacky plays like this. Calm down at the end, and obviously this calms down at the end. I'm a big fan of that. But I don't know. I think Wash knows this, but it was between me watching Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals and our recording session. By total chance, I watched TTO a second time. But I decided, hey, you know what, I'll watch it a third time, and I did. And on the third watching, I kind of knew a lot of what was coming, and I was kind of looking for some deeper meaning in a lot of this stuff, because it's there, I just have to catch it. And at the very end, when they're singing about being naked in a lake, and it calms down a little bit, Jeff Blim says, he's just looking at the audience, looking at everybody there, and he says, "Go pick out your favorite acre of land, kids. aren't you coming, Dad? I'll be right there. And he's just looking at the audience. The way that I see that, there's like everything that's like building up to this point is that it's like he's there because he worked on Trail to Oregon for like 10 years, right? He put a lot into it and finally got it performed. And just after everything that had happened, they finally made it to Oregon. Not in terms of the play, but in terms of what Jeff Blim has accomplished. And he gets to soak it in. He's there. He made it. And I really, really like. Am I reading too deep into it? Probably. But I also said that about the speedrunning thing, which on 2 rewatches, absolutely not. He is very much intentional that he only got bullets because that is not what you do in the speedrun. That has to be intentional. This, maybe I'm reading too deeply into it. I don't know. But I just really like that, you know, he got to put in there that it's like, you know, I made it. It added a bit of depth and character almost to a song as awesome, but also as silly as Naked in a Lake. And I liked it. This is one of the best. This is, if it's not the best, it's one of the best. I don't want to spoil anything, but it is unbelievably good.
Firebringer then.
My opinion on this one also changed, but it's a little more interesting. So, I don't know. Do you want me to start? Do you want Watch to start?
Let's watch.
Do you have input, Random?
I still remember liking this one. I liked it better than I thought I did. Which I still like it better than I thought I did. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna wait till the rankings. Wash, you go.
66.5 instances of the word fuck.
So more than Twisted. Wow.
Yeah, by like almost a dozen.
Yeah, almost a dozen. And and the only reason there's a half in there is because the very last instance of it is because the older woman that goes off and she comes back and then Chorn touches her head and she says, "What the fuck?" But she didn't finish it, so I had to count that only as a half.
Yeah.
but it's 66.5 instances. There is a YouTube video of Firebringer, but every fuck speeds up the video and it gets freaking fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it was good. I liked it. I really enjoyed the I didn't notice. I might have noticed, but the R&B influence I really enjoyed. Like the We Got Work to Do especially.
Yeah.
It's I really like it's really gorgeous soundtrack. Like the use of vocals with the xylophone, I felt like really enhanced it and made it and gave it a very distinct sound.
You know what I really like about the soundtrack, and this actually goes into what I like a lot about Firebringer itself, because it's not what I used to really like about it. That hasn't held up as well. But what Firebringer has, and the soundtrack super sells this, but I think what Firebringer has that no other, even TTO, no other of StarKid's musicals that really did, was that Firebringer had atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It has such a good atmosphere. Even with all these F-bombs being thrown around, like, you feel like you're in this certain time, in this certain place, with characters like this that are learning these things. I remember thinking, like, oh, fire isn't introduced until an hour in. What the heck? But here is that it's like, you know, I'm so enthralled with learning about Welcome to the Stone Age that it's just like, you know, it's, oh, okay, you're building up to it. And then all of Act 2 is about the fire. But you're building up to that. And God, the songs do such a good job of just enhancing all of that.
I didn't much care for Jamila, that especially when like when she was turning more on Zazalil, and then at the end when she was in this perfect tribe and just gloating about it. It's like, I don't want you back. you can have Clark for all you want.
I gotta say, because this is the last one that Clark is in. Clark is like the unsung MVP of StarKid. He is,
really though.
He's so funny. He is so funny. Like in Annie. I didn't bring that up for Annie. How funny Clark was in Annie. TTO. He was really funny in with like his faces and stuff. Like Clark needs more appreciation.
Clark going up behind Lauren and said, "You look lost," and Lauren's like scared. and then goes right back into him. I am lost.
I am lost. I like at the end when Zazzle blows him a kiss and he's just like, no.
Fuck you. Yeah, you said fuck you, Zazzle, or something like that.
See, it's so weird because it's like, I was ready for Firebringer to have more swears than Twisted, and it did, but it bothered me less. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
It's hard for me to say that it leaned on it less, because I think it leaned on it the same amount, but I think what made it work is that like Twisted was leaning really hard on Disney, but with a salty mouth, and this one is just like it's the atmosphere, like you said, it kind of made it work more this time around.
Yeah. Okay. No. That answers that explains my own thing that I didn't know how to explain. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. The only other thing that I gotta say is good God, those subtitles. I didn't even notice that like this is what we lose out on YouTube for taking away community captions, is that you don't get to see Meredith her gasp being described as a deflated balloon.
I could be wrong on this, but I read somewhere that it was Joe Walker that does the subtitles.
Really?
I don't take my word for it. I read it somewhere, and I believe it was cited, but I don't remember. But it might be Joe Walker.
That's even
that
more
would make
funny.
sense.
I guess the only other thing that I have to add, just to keep it brief-ish.
Sure.
I didn't say this for TTO, but we all know my favorite song is Speedrun. Like, that's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
But I also believe Wagon on Fire to be kind of like perfect. For Firebringer, I was not so like, what's in the running for my favorite overall song of StarKid? Speedrun is not a spoiler. Wagon on Fire, even though it's on the same play, like, I do still think Wagon on Fire to be like kind of basically perfect. Like, it doesn't really have flaws. But when I watch this, I won't even say like which category it falls into. Like, it's my personal favorite, or I think it's the overall best. But I remember for The Night Belongs to Snarl, I was the most impressed with the visuals. The song is perfect. The song is perfect. Like, it's everything that it should be and more. Like, it's a perfect song.
And had the perfect punchline of the and that was Smelly Ball's performance of The Night Belongs to Snarl, and Smelly Ball was like, I was inspired by okay, thank you very much. Now he's funny.
Is there anything else you guys want to say about Firebringer, or should we move on to the Hatchet Field?
That guy who didn't like musicals.
Didn't like it.
What the fuck? 55 instances of fuck.
Oh, tied with Firebringer. I'm sorry, Twisted.
With the Twisted, yeah. I didn't count Black Friday, so don't ask about that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Joey Rister saying, my wife.
And the subtitles say, in Borat voice.
What do you call a guy who lives in a fortress? A king. Joey Rister is so funny.
He's so good.
Like, when he's supposed to play an asshole, he's really good.
Yeah, God, yes. And it's like,
I'm
the reason it works here.
I'm not gonna die in your dirty ass Methodist church.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the reason why it works here compared to like Ron is because it's like, you're not supposed to like him, so they just get to go all out. Anyways, Random, you were saying something.
This was the musical that I've seen now 3 times. Yeah. I made sure I saw it more because it's the one I've watched the least now. I think maybe Annie might be the least I've watched. I don't quite know, but this is the one I was least experienced with, so I probably will talk a little bit more about this one than I did any of the others. Wow. Okay. It was.
You're either in the smoke club or you're out.
There's a lot of little stuff in this thing that like really added on, but still the overall plot and
So
like
creative.
characters is so good.
It's
and
so
I
weird
love-
because it's like, oh, it's kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but it's still so creative.
Yeah, I love how they
Yeah.
weaponize the musical.
Yeah,
And-
You said during the podcast that like every song is a villain song.
It is.
yes.
It really is. Even the opening.
I read an article about the like somebody ranked the songs, and they got to number 1, and it was Showstoppin' Number, and they were like, "Look, all the songs in this are good, but it's like there's a clear number 1," and I'm like, "Yeah."
Okay, I didn't want to because I didn't get to mention it for like most of the other musicals. But like my favorite song when I was rewatching, I was like I was watching La Di Da Da Day, and I was like, yeah, I feel like this is it, and then like Showstoppin' Number was like, oh no, I'm wrong.
See,
I'm wrong.
that's really funny actually, because I finished La Di Da today, and I was like, this one, it's good, but it's probably my least favorite. That's super interesting.
really?
Yeah, so that's super interesting that was
It's
your
the
favorite.
least evil of them all.
I just thought it relied a little too much on the La Di Da Day bit. That was my problem.
Yeah.
But
there's a great line in La Di Da Da Day that kind of forewarns the whole issue. It's saying, I throw all my worries and all my skin away. It's this tiny line, but like it just set up that like these are not who they look to be.
Dancing on the
already
concrete
gone.
used to hurt a lot, but now I got new feet, and this jam is way
Yeah.
too hot. Ooh.
now I got new feet. I think
got
one of
new-
a line that's like TTO silly in terms of like it's silly but it's really good is it's with the La Di Da Day lady, the green earth person.
Yep.
Paul.
Greenpeace, yes.
Greenpeace, yeah. And Paul, he's in an argument with her, and he's like, and you're saying that I could save the planet. I can't single-handedly save the planet or something. And it's
Yup.
like, oh my god.
Yep, there's a lot of foreshadowing in this one, and I love it.
They even like do the thunderclap right after that. It's like,
Yeah, because the meteor, and that's what he has to save everybody from. Like, ah! This is one of the goats. This is one of the goats.
Yeah.
Okay. I do want to mention this because this is something I didn't even realize my first time around, was that the song "Not Your Seed" is a lie. Specifically was it just shows how dark of a song, and especially that scene is. There's a line in there where she says like, Deb, you were right about Deb, that she's such a smoker, but we see early in this that like a couple of the friends played by Zoe Richter and Lauren Lopez like this smoking chains of joints or whatever you said. And they're trying to peer pressure her, and Deb was just like, no, come on, let's get out of here. And like it just kind of makes it like, oh, Not Your Seed is specifically made to drive the father into suicide, to
Yeah.
kill himself, which just makes it so much dark.
It really is one of the. I think it's the arguably.
It's definitely up there. I think the next one is a little bit darker.
Yeah,
but
I would.
This one's up there.
Yeah, I would say it's either this one or the next one as one of the darkest things that.
And you
StarKid has
know
ever
what
produced.
you know what I love about this one, and I'm gonna tear the next one apart when we get to it for not having stuff like this. But the same play that has something as devastatingly dark as Not Your Seed being a lie, it's the same one that has who's there? Professor Hitchens! Don't lie to me, whoever you are! I'm Professor Hitchens! Like, it's this. The guy who doesn't like musicals is the perfect example of high highs, not low lows, but lulls that exist to make those high highs so much more effective.
I agree.
You need these lulls. And look, I love Trail to Oregon and its lulls, like, absolutely, but when you're outdone, you're outdone. Like, it's the pacing here, the pacing of the songs, the pacing of the lulls and the high moments, like everything. I mean, you could have ended the show with So Stop and Number and it would have been already like one of the best, right?
Honestly, I'm glad they didn't because I really love the ending in this one.
Oh yeah, there's 2 songs after it, and like they're not as good, but stellar songs.
Yeah, stellar. Like I arguably, you'll hear my taste, but like I really like Let It Out. Like
I love Let It Out.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I was like, okay, this is really good, but high standards. It's kind of low on my list. And I mean, a theoretical list. But this time it's like, wow.
Yeah.
There's so much to this song. And it's a perfect lead into Inevitable too.
Oh, it's perfect.
Thing is, like, my second time, I had that same response as your first time, where it's like, this is great, but, high standard. But it was when I was just started thinking back, and I just kept thinking about Let It Out, and just how, especially just as a song, just how freaking good it is.
Let it out, let it out, let it out.
Ah, it's so good. And this is the only, this is one of the very few times you hear Paul sing. And
yes, I timed this. In an hour, 39 minutes, you hear him sing for the first time. And not only is he a great singer, but it's also like, it's one of those things because in any other show, you'd be like, finally, he's in a musical. He's finally singing. Let's go. But you can't think that. You're like,
no, you're like, oh God, no.
Oh God, he's singing. He's in a musical. No.
Okay. And that's funny and terrifying.
Yes.
Before we wrap this up, KirbyFan did show us a tweet from the actor and what do you think of the, because what a fan was asking him whether Paul really was like possessed or whether he was pretending to be possessed to stay in the group. What do you two think about this?
I think
you go first.
I was gonna say whatever the actor thinks is, I'm sure, is great and I believe
yeah, he never revealed it for himself.
Yeah, all he said was that I played it a certain way. That's all he said.
Yeah.
And he said like pay attention to the eyes, I think it was. Something like that. But yeah.
How I interpret it is as Paul is like he couldn't physically stomach musicals. Like it made him sick to sing at points. Like I don't know if he could actually pretend it and do it convincingly. So
I agree.
I think he's gone.
I think he's gone too. And the thing is, like with either of those, it's hard for me to say which is darker. I think like just like the guy who didn't like musicals leading the musical number. I think that's
closing number specifically.
The closing number that also it adds in all of the other songs just to truly taunt. Oh my God. What do you think, KirbyFan?
So I'm not entirely sold on which one it is in terms of what happens in Inevitable, but for what the musical was building up to, I think he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a musical that was meant to have a happy ending. I stand by that. This was not meant to have a happy ending, and any ending that doesn't end with Paul dying, it doesn't fit what it was building up to. What I will say, however, both are valid, and I would even argue that the other interpretation, you could still make a good ending out of it. And I think this is kind of how you leave an ending up to interpretation. Like, everything is laid out, and everything that really needed to be said is said, but you can think about, like, what happens from here. It's not unsatisfying. It's not out of nowhere. Like, you don't have to be, like, super focused on the whole thing to really piece this together. Like, you can be super focused, you can be not super focused, but you can still put something together, and it's fun. Absolutely. I think it's pretty obvious what I have to say about our next show based on that, but still.
Speaking of next show, Black Friday.
This hurts, because there's a lot that I like about this. I didn't like it.
Really?
I didn't like it.
Ooh.
Remember what I was saying? Okay, so I was not comparing it to the guy who didn't like musicals, but when I was thinking about why I didn't like it, I compared it a lot to the guy who didn't like musicals. Specifically, you need the lulls. And I know how that sounds because it's like epic lulls, but LULLS. You need those, because if something is too funny, then you have a good ride, but it's like, oh, well, remember when it wasn't funny or you didn't find it funny at all. With something more dramatic like this, you do, and it starts fine. It starts pretty funny with, a lot of heavier moments like the car accident, the relationship between Tom and his son, like very good stuff there. But the longer it goes on, it's like the lulls stop being there, and there's not as many times where it's like, oh, that's good. You quote this, have a good laugh. Like it's just kind of like this constant state of sadness.
Yeah.
And I left it just feeling like I'm not in a good mood. And that's not just because the ending sucks. Like I'm just not in a good mood. I did not leave it happy. I didn't leave it thinking. I just left it being like, I'm upset. And if I had more of those, I say lulls for TTO and Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals in terms of break from the comedy. Because if you're laughing so much, you're going to not really think about the big laughs. Like, obviously, that's kind of common sense. But for something like this, it's just like you're in this constant mental state of like bitterness and anger and all these unpleasant things. And when you don't have the little breaks there of, something lighter, not even funny, just lighter, and then it kind of meshes. Yeah, now it like meshes together, and because it meshes together so much, you're just sad.
I mean, you can argue with Black Friday, and maybe that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it very dark and very gritty and very bitter, and not making you feel happy because they were trying to go for an edgy darkness. But there's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it.
Yeah.
My big thing is that the story just seems a bit more all over the place because Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, Paul's the main character with no doubt, and it always goes around him. Sure, it'll cut to like Emma and Professor Higgins, but they're still closely related to Paul, and it still takes place in the Hatchetfield universe. Tom doesn't know the president.
Yeah, the president is so separated from everything. And why do you bring back Nat McNamara and not make him silly and funny? Like, that doesn't that defeat the whole point?
But there's no Stranger Things parody. And we gotta have that.
We gotta have the guy. It's StarKid. We gotta have a parody.
Well, okay, but that's the other thing. And we said this in the last episode that was like weeks ago as we recorded this. This feels the least like StarKid of the ones we've watched. Like, even a Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, it was dark, but it still felt like StarKid. Like this feels like it's going for a brand new direction. And I'm also kind of worried that it's not really to do with the musical itself, but I am, because obviously like right after this was the lockdown, everything like that, and instead of doing Nerdy Pooh's Must Die, they started doing Nightmare Time, was it like multi-episode script readings, and I'm getting worried that there's gonna be like a required watch when we get to Nerdy Pooh's Must Die, because I apparently they've already started adjusting the script even more after doing Nightmare Time.
Yeah, I will admit I've watched 2 out of the 3 of the Nightmare Times, and according to the website, they are Hatchetfield canon. So
yeah,
what that means, I don't know, because Hatchetfield's fucking weird.
Yeah.
But because
the ending of this one, where they were leaning really hard on all the callbacks to Guy Who Didn't Like Musical, was bothering me, and I feel like we're gonna get that even further, where like the whole audience is cheering for something that you don't understand.
Yeah, that happened to you, right, Random? You didn't watch Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, but you watched Black Friday.
I watched Black Friday.
You were like,
I'm like, who are you people? And then afterwards, when I finally watched the Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, I was like, oh, what does this mean? Yeah. This means something. I know it, but I don't know what it is still. But like,
I appreciate the ambition that Black Friday has. I'd rather something ambitious not being that great than just doing the same thing over and over again.
I agree.
But I still, I didn't hate it. I didn't even dislike it that. I don't even want to say I disliked it. It's just that I didn't specifically like it. Also, Santa Claus Goes to High School. As funny as that was, it's like spread it out a little. Not specifically Santa Claus, but like the funny. Don't just have like it's like starts out pretty funny. Now we're sad. Santa Claus is going to high school. Sad. Like you gotta spread that out a little more.
Yeah.
Also, I did not.
I guess that's harder to spread out. It makes sense in that scene, and in fact, I would say that's like one of the strongest scenes.
I agree. I'm not saying specifically spread out Santa Claus. I'm just saying like the funny that scene bought. Sure. Spread that out a little bit. Also, I really tried with the ending this time. I really did. I even took notice of that ticking clock like Random did.
Yeah.
But this isn't like Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, where it's more like, okay, what changes with the ending? It's really just like ultimately like the fate of Emma. That's really all. It's nothing serious, but it's still like really fun to be like, oh, I think this happened, and you can talk. Like this isn't necessary. What happens at the end like really impacts what you think, and the fact that they just didn't give you a resolution to something that was already really sad is just like,
yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
I mean, more power to you if you like it, absolutely, but it's not for me. And I love making theories and stuff, but this isn't for me.
It like on its own, I feel like What If Tomorrow Comes or whatever it's called, I feel like on its own is a very good song in the context of the story. Like I couldn't follow along, and then of course like everybody's staring at the watch like it was very important. Just kind of it started to make it more abstract, and I just couldn't get into it.
And this is the only point of comparison that I'll make. Like that ending song where it's like Tom, Lex, Hannah, Becky, and just a bunch of randoms, right? Whereas Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals, it's everybody that's been building up to this point. Like, I'm only comparing them because they kind of have that same ambiguous ending going for them. And Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals just does so much better.
I'll at least say this is definitely for me. This is Dylan Saunders' best role. I like this character far more than Jafar in Twisted. Mainly because like his arc just makes the most sense to me.
I think I will go as far as to say his arc is not only what it should have been the focus, but it's also the best thing about the play.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. I can fully agree. This is Dylan Saunders' best.
Yeah, it's just a shame that Becky ended up being the one to shoot. It's like on its own, it's like I could almost understand it, but immediately before that headshot, she tried to drug a little girl.
Yeah, no, Lex has all the reason in the world to shoot her, and it's not like with Becky. We'll move on, I promise. But with Becky, it's all stuff that you're told. With Hannah and Lex, it's like that's happening. And it's not just she's drugging the little girl. It's she's sending people to literally find and kill her little sister. She doesn't even find out that Ethan died. Like, huh? That's kind of important script, but it's also partially because of her and Willy or whatever his name was that Ethan died, and it's just like Lex has all the reasons, both personally and narratively, to kill her, but instead it's Becky because they have a bad relationship.
Yep.
It's supposed to be like a karma thing, and it's also supposed to be like Becky having the gumption finally after we learn the story about what happened to her husband. It's like finally having the gumption to stand up to her, but it needed a rewrite.
It needed less scenes with the president.
Yeah. I mean, the president does a good job acting, I will just say.
I like the actor.
Yeah.
The first scene with him when everybody in the White House is freaking out and then McNamara shows up, it's like, I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, maybe the president scenes aren't that bad. Like, I could see, like, the point is that it's like, it's escalating so high that it even hits the White House. Like, okay. And then it kept going, and I was like, oh, no, this is actually, like, nothing.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll just say, I lied earlier. I didn't realize that there were 52 instances of the word fuck. So it's not that bad comparatively.
All right. Random, you're up.
2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, have fun editing this.
Oh, this is gonna suck, but it'll be fine. Now it's ranking time.